Hey guys, welcome back. This is History of Power Rangers Season 2, Episode 14 of my show, but this is about Episode 13 of Season 2. Now, Episode 13 in the original Power Rangers second season is known as, is part 2 of the Green No More 2-part episode I covered in my previous video. But before I actually start talking about it, I just want to mention two things. One is I'm running low on battery power on my iPad for right now, so what I might do is I might record this tonight, but I'll post it tomorrow and stuff. And the other is the next video after this will cover the fallout from, as I said, from the fallout from the events of this episode and the Green Candle 2-part episode. I just wanted to bring that up one last time since this was the final episode where Tommy would have his Green Ranger powers that I would be talking about. Anyway, basically, this episode continues over from where the first part actually left off. So if you guys remember, in the last video I talked about, the Turban Shell was asking Tommy to give up because his days as a Power Ranger were done, and he's still looking for him in the grass, and then Tommy finds him, fights the Turban Shell a little bit, but what happens is, before that, basically what happens is, Goldar is wanting to destroy the Rangers who are still, trapped in the energy field, that Zedd put them in when they got transported to the Otherworld. Well, Zedd is telling his Dark Rangers that it's time for them to begin their destruction of the Earth, basically. And then, Goldar wants to destroy the Power Rangers. Well, actually, what happens is, Jason basically tells the Dark Rangers that they're making a mistake. And then, because when Zedd's done with them, he'll just destroy them as well. I'm just referencing something that I mentioned in the previous video that I technically brought up, which was technically for this video. But then one of the Dark Rangers again says that no one has given them a chance like Lord Zedd has. He's promised them his loyalty, but then Billy tells them that the only person Zedd is loyal to is himself, and then Zedd tells the Rangers silence, and then, as I said, Goldar wants to destroy them, but Zedd tells them that he's not going to have Goldar destroy the Rangers, but instead he's going to send them basically back to Earth. Oh, but before I continue, he also cut Zordon off from the Rangers. And by cut Zordon off from the Rangers, I mean he put an invisible force field around the command center. I just wanted to bring that part up. And then, anyway, Zedd's telling Goldar that he doesn't get to destroy the Rangers because they foiled enough of his plans. He's sending them back to Earth where where they'll be helpless as they watch as his Dark Rangers cause the destruction of everything that the Rangers have held dear, which is basically protecting the planet Earth and stuff. And then basically Zedd sends the the Power Rangers back to Earth, and then they're wondering about how to free Zordon and Alpha from the containment field Zedd put around the command center. And now getting into that segment with Zordon and Alpha, when Alpha did the scans on it, he told Zordon that he realized that computer data is telling him that the energy field that Zedd put around the command center is rapidly decompressing. Now basically what he means by decompressing is that it's starting to close in on itself, and it's closing in on the command center, and once it closes completely, the command center will be basically blown to bits. That's basically what he means by that. And then Zordon tells Alpha that they gotta figure out a way to break through the energy field in order to basically stop that from happening. Because if that does happen, the command center will basically be destroyed. And, which is kind of funny because the command center actually, I'm just going to bring this up here since it doesn't really matter because it's in the 3rd season, but one of the plot points is the command center is going to be blown to bits anyway, so I just wanted to bring that up since I mentioned it with the compressing part. Anyway, continuing on with what I was saying earlier. After the Rangers are back, while the Rangers are back on Earth watching the news report of Turban Shell destroying the city and them feeling helpless, Billy manages to use his computer to find a weakness in Zedd's energy shield and free Zordon and Alpha from it. And then basically what happens is then it goes into a scene where Goldar is, and he's telling what happened was before that before the Turban Shell monster was sent down to Earth, like before it started rampaging through the city, Goldar had went to the other segment of the Otherworld that Tommy was in with the Turban Shell, and then he tells the Turban Shell that his master wants him to destroy Angel Grove now that the Power Rangers are out of the way. But the Turban Shell monster basically tells Goldar that he hasn't finished destroying the Green Ranger yet, and then basically Goldar basically tells him that his Lord Zedd gave him an order and he has to follow it. So the Turban Shell monster leaves to destroy Angel Grove. And then basically what happens is Goldar meets up with Tommy, and then he tries to get Tommy to down himself as with his powers dwindling away, basically, by showing him a picture show kind of thing. And then basically what happens is after that, now getting back into the segment with the Rangers, basically they managed to break through the force field that Zedd put around the command center. Well, first what actually happens is Goldar is telling Tommy that he basically must have always been destroyed over like 100 or so of Zedd's monsters, always there when his friends needed him, and so on and so forth. And then after that segment, then after that, what basically happens is, then it goes into a segment with the Rangers where they're still watching the Turban Shell monster destroying the city, and they feel helpless to stop it, basically. And then it goes back to where Goldar is, and then he's telling Tommy that before he sends him hurtling through space with a time device, he wants to hear Tommy say that Goldar is basically his superior. And then Tommy manages to, he says Goldar, and then Goldar's telling him to say it, and then he says, "You are," and then Goldar tells him to say it, and then Tommy basically says he's out of his mind, and then basically they start fighting, and then Tommy basically tells Goldar that basically he almost gave up on himself, but his little picture show that he showed him, with him as the Green Ranger fighting Zedd's monsters, reminded him of all the good he's done, not just as the Green Ranger, but as him basically plain old Tommy. And then he basically managed to send Goldar away using the time device, and then he's happy about that, but he wonders how he can get out of the situation he's in. And then basically what happens is that he realizes that Goldar's little device is a time device. Perhaps he can contact himself in the past. Now, this is the segment of the episode that references the beginning segment of the first part of this two-part episode I talked about previously. And then the other version of Tommy shows up, and he tells him it was a time warp. He got his message, and he gives him his communicator. And then he uses the communicator to teleport back to the Rangers. And then the Rangers are happy to see him, and then by this point they've gotten Zordon and Alpha free from the force field that Zedd had placed around them, the command center basically. And then Zordon is telling them that they need to get the crystal, but only a non-Power Ranger can enter Zedd's fortress undetected. And Tommy says that he has to be the one, but they're not wanting him to, but he's telling them that he has to because of the fact that he's the only one of them that doesn't have any powers, which is kind of true because of Zedd's crystal sapping the rest of his energy. And then, so Zordon teleports Tommy to where Zedd is, and then Zedd's telling his Dark Rangers that it's almost time for them to begin his destruction, the destruction of the Earth. But then he sees Tommy, and then Tommy manages to destroy the crystal, and then Zedd gets upset about that, and then he basically loses his Dark Rangers, and then Tommy tells Zedd that he should never underestimate the Power Rangers. And then he goes back to the command center where the Rangers are, and he tells them that after touching that crystal, because he touched the crystal during that confrontation with Zedd, and he tells them that because of him touching it, he feels like he has enough energy left for one last battle. So the Rangers morph to deal with the Turban Shell monster, and then and then Zedd makes the Turban Shell monster basically grow, and then they start dealing with it in the Megazord. And then basically what happens is they get beaten by it, but then Zordon contacts Tommy on his communicator, and he tells them that the only way that they can defeat the Turban Shell is in two ways. One, to blast him from the inside with intense heat, and then to blast him from the outside with intense cold. So, sort of similar to what happened with the invisible flytrap monster back in the 10th, I can't remember, but I think it was either the 10th or, the 11th episode, about episode 10 that I covered, so sort of similar to that. Anyway, when Tommy realizes that, he goes to where a food truck is, and then Turban Shell is busy destroying the city, but then he sees the food truck where Tommy is hidden, and then he tells himself that he should have something to eat because it's hungry work destroying the city, so he eats the fruit, but he doesn't realize Tommy's in there, which allows Tommy to sneak inside of him. And then he decides to get back to work, and then when he gets inside the monster, he starts blasting him with a fire blast thing that Billy had given him, and then basically, the Turban Shell monster eventually starts feeling the pain from the heat, and he said that that's it. From now on, he's staying away from spicy food. And then basically what happens after that is then the Rangers Zack uses, I think, the Mastodon Zord to blast the Turban Shell monster with cold, and then basically, well, then they use I think it was actually a fire hose that they used to blast him with intense cold, and then when he gets blasted with water, he's like, oh no, not water, perfect, just when I needed an ice cream headache. And then basically what happens after that is they manage to basically destroy the Turban Shell monster, and then Zedd gets upset that he lost to the Rangers and also lost his Dark Rangers as well in the process. And then it goes into a scene where the Rangers are in the youth center, and Zordon is congratulating them on defeating Zedd this time. Well, actually, first what happens is it goes into a scene where the Rangers are in the youth center, and then after that, what happens is when Jason sees the 5 teenagers that were supposed to be Zedd's Dark Rangers but was spoiled from it, he tells them that Zordon told him that the Dark Rangers were teleported back home with no memory of what happened, and basically Jason realizes that maybe what the 5 new teenagers need is basically some friends. So he goes over to them, and they try to order some drinks, but then Jason tells them that that they got this, and you think that they got off on the wrong foot, and why don't they basically start over? And then basically they're all being all friendly and introducing themselves to the other 5 teenagers, and then basically then it goes into a scene where Tommy is in the command center with the Rangers, and then the Rangers are Zordon is thanking them for saving the command center and the world, basically, and then Tommy basically says that he's going to miss this while they're away on summer break. And then he basically tells them to put their hands together one last time, and they do that Power Ranger thing that they did in 2 instances in the first season, and then that's basically where this episode stops. So if you guys like this video when I post it, just please give this video the real best you guys can, and I will see you guys probably, I might post this video tomorrow, and then I might do another video then. So until Next time, guys, just please give this video the real best you guys can. And I will see you guys next time. So, and like I always tell you with this series, may the power protect you always.